Coby White has quietly had a really solid start to his season, which has gotten overshadowed because of the amazing play by Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. So we're going to spend some time talking about Coby White's season so far, and Patrick Williams questionable with another injury update to his foot that he had surgery on last year. We'll talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it, man. And a lot's been made this season, right? If you look at the storylines for the Chicago Bulls, negative, you've had the play of Josh Giddey. Positive, you've had the play of Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic. Of course, the Bulls losing the new offense, all of that. And throughout all of that, with it being said, is that one thing that you're seeing as well is that Coby White has had an amazing start to the season for the Chicago Bulls. When you look at just the raw stats, he's, again, having one of the best years of his career. 20 points per game, right at 20, 19.9. We're going to round that up to 20, 3.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 45% shooting from the field overall. And Coby White started off the season, it started off really, really bad for Coby White. Look at it now. He's once again having career highs across the board. It's the career high as far as field goal shooting percentage. He's shooting 40% from three, which is the career high. He's also taking the most three-pointers of his career at 9. He's also having, 3.3 rebounds, which isn't as high as last season. But again, you have Josh Giddey as a rebounding guard on this team. And despite Josh Giddey being on this team and the starting point guard, Coby White is only averaging 0.4 assists less than what he did last year as well. His turnovers are down. His fouls are down. Everything. Coby White is having a really good season when you look at the 19.9 points per game. But then let's take a look at the month of November so far for Coby White. He's averaging 20.3 points per game, 46% shooting from the field, 43% shooting from three. He's averaging 5 assists per game and 3 rebounds per game as well so far in the month of November. He's only had 2 games in scoring single-digit points. We've talked a lot about Coby White and the consistency there. Outside of the games that he's only scored single digits, which was he shot 23% and 37% respectively, he has been over 40% in just about every game shooting-wise from three and from the field. Coby White is slowly looking like he's turning into that consistent player. Now, one hot month, we'll see how that goes over the season. But, it started off really rough for Coby White. A lot of people were asking, hey, is Coby going to come out of it? He was in the shooting slump. He only made 7 out of his first, 33-point attempts on the season. But he's come out of that really well. And Coby White, on top of the statistics, is also turning into a leader for the Chicago Bulls team. And that's what really sparked me wanting to have this conversation about Coby White, is that he was the vocal guy after the loss to Houston that said that it was disgusting, that the fans deserve better, that the organization deserved better. And it was only been one game since then, but we saw the Bulls respond to that. And I think it's kind of gotten buried in the other storylines and things. But one of the things with this season that we always were looking at is, how does Coby White, or who steps into being that next leader for the Bulls? And so far, it's looking like Coby White. But then let's get to the impact on the court that the stat sheet won't necessarily tell you right now. When Coby White is on the court for the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls are averaging 8.1 points more per 100 possessions, which is the highest of his NBA career. It actually puts him in the 90th percentile in the NBA as far as the impact he's having as far as the positive plus minus. As well as the point differential with Coby White is plus 2.2. Now, that's not as high as last season, but again, this team's kind of struggling right now in this part of the season, so we'll see how that's going. And Coby White has an estimated wins added of 6 so far on the season for the Chicago Bulls. Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball for Coby White. It's been a mixed bag there. I want to be clear there. Teams are still scoring 5.9 points more per 100 possessions when Coby White's on the court. That actually is the highest that an opponent per 100 possessions has scored in Coby White's career. But we know that this team defensively is trash. It's not an individual stat. It's more of an impact stat. And with the points that the Bulls are giving up in the paint, that's not too surprising there. But efficiency-wise, Coby White's improving. And in the ways as far as the intangibles, Coby White's definitely having an impact on this team as well. And so when you look at it, I think that it's safe and probably fair to say that if you're looking at the Bulls moving into the next phase, Coby White has really been the best player that they've drafted and kept, right? Some could make a conversation for Lauri Markkanen, even though I'd say this, Lauri Markkanen, he puts up some numbers, but his teams always lose, right? Like there's more of a correlation between Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen than I think a lot of Bulls fans want to admit, right? I think that that's a case, right? That they don't really want to admit that Lauri Markkanen at times can really be 7-foot Zach LaVine. But, for how Zach LaVine has been looked at. But, of course, Bulls fans, once a player leaves, they just paint it all as positive. But, that's just something to look at with Lauri. I'm sorry. I just got to be honest. Like the glaze that Bulls fans do sometimes for Lauri Markkanen has always bewildered me in a sense, because it's like, yeah, he went somewhere. And of course, when he turns into basically the offense, he has more of a statistical output. But if you look at how it impacts winning, it's like the same way that people complain about Zach LaVine. But that's a story for another day. We'll get into that at some point later. But it's just Coby White at 25 now, still 24 years old. He'll turn 25 in February. Is really steady, taking this game to another level. Now, we always talked about the fact that Coby White, the thing that you always want to look at with Coby, right, is that how he can refine this game, right? It wasn't necessarily after last season seeing some huge statistical uptick just because Zach LaVine's coming back. You were bringing in Josh Giddey, you were moving him off ball, and then now with the resurgence that Vooch has had as well, I just think that it's important that we also start talking more about Coby White, because yes, Zach is having a great season. Two-way season for Zach LaVine. This is the best defense we've seen from Zach, the best two-way play that we've seen from Zach. Vooch is putting up all-star numbers consistently as well. But the guy, like the last year, the guy that really was a big part of that engine of the Chicago Bulls is still here, and he's still being that engine. And in a lot of ways, he's refined his game. Him and Zach LaVine have refined their games to fit each other more than what I think DeMar and Zach ever could, right? Just because of the way that you have Coby and Zach both as 3-level scorers, right? The thing that Coby White needs to fix, I would say the most in this game, is that he does penetrate. You just got to finish at the rim. Coby does the thing where he penetrates. He basically gets inside the paint and he looks to pass it out last minute. Just take it up. Try to draw those fouls. If Coby White can start being one of those players that he takes advantage of his ability with his quick first step to get into the paint, if he draws more fouls and gets his free throw attempts up. Right now, he's averaging 3.6 free throw attempts per game, which is the highest of his career. He averages 2.1 free throw attempts for his career overall. But if Coby White can get to the place of getting 6, 7, 8 free throw attempts per game, and he can do that with his speed, with his ability to drive, with his height as well, I think he can do that. If he can become that player and add that part, it makes him a more efficient player as well. And that's just something that I would like to see Coby White take his next game up to. But as far as the questions coming into the season, could Coby White be a more efficient player? He's showing that's yes, right? Again, a month and a half sample size. Why are you whining, dude? A month and a half sample size, but it's something that could definitely build off of, and we can see how it continues to develop for Coby White as well. But I tell you what, Coby White is having a really good impact for the Bulls, and he's doing it on less shots than what he did last year as well, which is really the impressive part of it, that he isn't, we asked ourselves, like, is Coby still going to be able to have the shots that he did? Billy Donovan talked about not wanting to change the prioritization that Coby White had in the offense. And of course, when you have players that are scoring like Zach and like Vooch, it's naturally going to change some, but Coby White has really done a good job at adjusting that, being a more efficient player, having an impact still, and fitting in. Coby White is still the player that he was last year, and in a lot of ways, he's refined that to be even more impactful. And the leadership part of it is the thing that I would love to talk about the most, because Coby White is right now the leader on this team. He just is. right? Zach LaVine's the leader on the court through like the play, but when you look on the sidelines, when you look at hyping people up, when you look at calming players down, that's been Coby White so far this season. And that is the growth that we really want to see from a guy that's important to the future of the Chicago Bulls team. So love to talk about Coby. Love the fact that Coby's having a really good season. And I understand why he's not talked about as much with the other storylines, but I wanted to take some time out today to talk a little bit about Coby White. But we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about Patrick Williams. Another concerning update, aren't they all, when it comes to Patrick Williams? But first, we got to get into a message from FanDuel. All right, get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook, and that's FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Can't stress enough how much of a leg up that FanDuel is giving you to be able to get all the information that you need to make an informed bet on the same exact page where you place your bets. You don't have to go to a bunch of other sites to get the information that you need. FanDuel's giving it to you all at your fingertips, and you can place your bet on FanDuel as well. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's if you win. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Bulls fans. Patrick Williams. Listen, I want to be clear here. In no way has he been listed as outwardly out so far in this game tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. So I don't want to act and come down on it like he's hurt for sure. But it's more so the messaging behind it, right? And it's this. Now, the Bulls list Patrick Williams as questionable with bilateral foot soreness. Both Billy Donovan and Patrick Williams downplayed him landing on the injury report for the first time on Monday. Listed this time as probable, Williams played versus the Pistons. He underwent foot surgery in January. That's from KC Johnson. Now, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it is. It is what it is. But to me, when you re-injure something that ended your season last year, I think that it needs to be kind of concerned about a little bit more. And for Patrick Williams, already a player that it seems like every time P. Will gets to rolling, an injury comes, right? And, you know, they listed it as probable Monday. He played Monday. He's listed as questionable today. I wouldn't doubt that he still plays today. And it's not that the Bulls can't, overcome an absence of Patrick Williams, but this is the type of game against the Milwaukee Bucks that the defense and physicality that Patrick Williams does bring is important to him. It's really important to this team. Like the first game that we played against the Milwaukee Bucks, while Patrick Williams in no way, shape, or form shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo, he made some really good defensive plays and rotation on Giannis, and he did not back down, right? Now, Julian Phillips is a solid defender. Torrey Craig can come in here and play some defense for you as well. But it just comes down to that reliability for P. Will. And, I know a lot's been made over the last 24 hours or so over the number of missed dunks by Patrick Williams, because it is concerning. How many dunks Patrick Williams misses consistently is wild. It's really strange when you look at the size, the athleticism that Patrick Williams can't make a dunk consistently is really strange. But when you look at the foot, and if it is that, because it is that surgically repaired foot, maybe that's been some part of what we've seen. Now, I'm not excusing it, because we've seen P. Will be passive even when he's not hurt. So I'm not going to blame it 100% on this injury, but it does raise some questions, right? Is that when you've seen Patrick Williams, and he put together 5 solid games before he started falling off a cliff again, is it because of that re-aggravation of that foot injury that maybe started that slide a little bit for Patrick? When you look at before the last 2 games, Patrick Williams had 12 points, 10 points, 13, 18, and 17. 5 games of scoring in double digits. Over those 5 games as well, he averaged almost 6.5 rebounds per game, which isn't a whole lot for the traditional power forward, but that is a lot for Patrick Williams. He also had a lot of assists over that time. So he's playing some of his best basketball, shooting the ball over 50% from the field, over 40% from 3. And then the last 2 games against Houston, 1 of 7 for 7 points, one rebound, 1 assist. Against Detroit, 8 points, going 3 of 10, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. So if that foot injury affected it a little bit, right, You got to start questioning that. And again, this medical staff, while I started off the season saying this medical staff seems like they're playing it really safe with Bulls, and I'm not necessarily mad at that. When you look at the Lonzo communication, right? It's starting to look and smell like the same. Is Tanaka still in the building? Is Tanaka, did he slide his way back in there? Is he still in the building? That's the question that we have to ask here, because we've had a lot of bad history with the Bulls medical staff. And while it started off looking a little bit more promising, it's starting to smell like the same ish. That's what it's starting to do right now. And that's a little bit of a concern for me personally. But I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but that's a little bit of a concern for me. Winton in the building says, well, if Patrick Williams sits, I really hope that Billy Donovan starts. Justin, Julian Phillips is probably who you mean. I agree with that as well. I think Julian Phillips has earned that ability, that opportunity to try to start. You look at it, the defense, the shooting, he offers the best. I know a lot of Bulls fans are going to start saying, but Modest needs to start. But unfortunately, Modest Vucevic is not efficient as Julian Phillips, and he doesn't bring the defense yet. But I do hope that if Patrick does sit, it opens up more minutes for Modest Vucevic. So I completely agree with you with that one. NBA Bull Boy says he seemed like he's getting consistent, then he gets hurt. Exactly, and that's a concern. Like when you can never really start ramping up for Patrick Williams, it's like, here we go again, right? And not to say that players want to be hurt. No player goes out there and wants to get hurt, right? I'm sure he wants to be out there on the basketball court with his teammates and he wants to compete. But of course, it brings about some concerns, and that's all you got to look at. If that's the case, I'd like to see him sit and see how the team handles Giannis. Don't want to keep running him around out there. Yeah, I mean, especially a foot injury, right? Because foot injuries can go from something kind of minor and uncomfortable to needing surgery very quickly. And let me not worry anybody. There's been no communication, no word, no nothing to say that they are necessarily going to, that's a concern at all here. But, just sit them, right? Just sit them. At the end of the day, it's this. If the Bulls lose a couple of games because Patrick Williams is out, okay, right? I would not want to risk aggravating a surgically repaired foot at all for a couple of games when you could just sit them. That's my personal opinion. So, Reginald Short, Laurie would have games where he got like 3 rebounds despite being 7 foot. Always surprised me. It happens for everybody. It really happens for everybody. But ultimately, just to get back on tune here, the thing with Pat is just, I know a lot of Bulls fans are disappointed by Pat, rightfully so, right? I'm not going to be somebody to sit here and say, while Patrick Williams is showing some glimpses, we shouldn't be disappointed. He was drafted 4th overall. He didn't decide to be drafted 4th overall. But I think he brings a lot of things that for the casual basketball viewers, they don't really understand what Patrick Williams does defensively sometimes, for especially this version of the Bulls team that has little to no defense in their starting lineup. But you still need him to be on the court. You need Patrick Williams to be aggressive. And can he really be aggressive if that foot is bothering him? So rather than the Bulls try to trout him out there and force him to, not necessarily they're forcing him to play, allowing him to play, I would rather just see Patrick Williams sit for a couple of games, even if it takes the rest of this week, right? Which the Bulls do have a pretty, a consistent schedule. We play today, we play Friday, and we play Saturday, I believe, as well. If it just takes, sitting him for the next 3 games, cool. It's 3 games over an 82-game season, because it's much better than him playing on it, aggravating something, and then missing 22 to 25 games, right? So that's really what the Bulls medical staff really has to look at and review. We'll see. Flockavelli says, actually might be weird to say, but I wonder if it's the shoes, whether he needs special soles or something. Listen, I would hope that with a whole medical staff that's built around finding the best situations for these players, that if it is something as simple as shoes, soles, that they would have figured that the hell out by now. I would hope to do that. Now, maybe that's just me looking back from a fan standpoint, and it's a lot more difficult that goes into a decision like that. But, it is what it is, man. When it comes down to it, I want Patrick Williams to be healthy, and I want Patrick Williams to be able to play freely out there, and that's for every player. And I think that if you have to play with any type of injury or kind of soreness in the back of your head, and especially it being a foot, right? Everything you do in basketball is all built off your foot. Almost everything you do in life is built off you having a stable base, and your feet got to be together, right? You can't be out there with jacked up feet, right? So it just raises some questions there on what's going on here with the Bulls and that thought process. But, we'll see overall what happens there. And hopefully that, if it is something minor, that it stays minor. And maybe it's something that he is over with here in a couple of days and it's really no big deal. Hopefully the worst thing out of this is that I'm making a bigger deal out of it than what it is and that Patrick Williams will be fine in the long run. That's what we hope for. But all right, next up, we're going to be talking about the CHSN app, which I haven't talked about a lot here. And the fact that they announced an app for $19 and why, just why, I'm smelling a little bit of a conspiracy theory. We're going to get into that right after this message from PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, and Texas. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money on sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineups. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, Bulls fans, before we get up out of here, I want to thank you guys for tuning in with us early in the morning. This is probably going to be the new time for the Bulls live streams. I think doing it at 11 a.m. ended up being a little too late in the day to really catch the YouTube algorithm and things like that. So going to get back to dropping it early. If this doesn't work, we'll get back to maybe doing it the night before, but we'll see what happens there. But overall, man, so the CHSN a couple of days ago, and because of games and the weekend and things like that, I didn't get into this. They announced the launch of their app. And with this, the package starts at $19.99 a month if you just want one team. So between Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games, you can do a one-team subscription for just $19.99 a month. Or you can get full access to CHSN for $10 more at $29.99 a month. And that includes all teams, all live games, and you can get a free 7-day trial. Now, where I said that I smelt conspiracy theory with this, right? Initially, when CHSN was launched, right, part of the thing was they were going to take over where NBC Sports Chicago was, right? And that if you had NBC Sports Chicago, you were going to have CHSN. That quickly got proven false. Now, there's also talk of a Comcast deal coming through, all these type of things. But it seems like to me that this was all built around, keep in mind, the Chicago Bulls did not have to move to CHSN this quickly. They had an option to do one last season on NBC Sports Chicago, and then they could have launched this new network. And it really seems like overall to me, as a Bulls fan, they launched this network without a plan. They got the rights, they had the network, and they saw an opportunity to make more money, and they went for it without a plan. This CHSN launch has been terrible. It's been terrible. It's been terrible to Bulls fans. It's been terrible to White Sox fans. White Sox fans, I'm one of those. We deserve less because we root for the team. It's been terrible for Blackhawks fans. The inability to watch a game and know where you're going to be able to catch a game every day should never happen in the modern day. It should never have happened. And this to me was a misfire and a quick draw by the heads up, by Jerry Reinsdorf and the owners as well of the Blackhawks to launch something that they could have literally waited one season for, and they could have launched it with the app. They could have launched it with DirecTV. They could have launched it with Comcast. They could have launched it with a better programming overall, because I tell you what, sometimes the little bit of things, the broadcasting things on the back end of CHSN are trash. The fact that they knew that they were launching a new network and did it so haphazardly, it really is a slap in the face to the fan bases of these teams, in my personal opinion. And it really sucks, right? And not to say that an app is bad. Everything's moving towards this app. It is what it is, right? But it's just, you could have launch and overall, this is just my problem with businesses nowadays. Overall, it seems like so many of these companies, these multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies, are just in such a rush to do something because they can do it. They don't stop to think about the user experience of this. They just don't. They just don't. There are people who literally already hate CHSN 2 months into it even existing because the way that you launch this network has been so piss poor. So piss poor. You got to get it together, right? And I like the fact that it's an app. It can be looked on your phone. It can be on any web browser. It has, it's not even on Android yet. It's on iOS. But like the thing is, you could have planned this better. And when a company that has so much money, has so much time to invest, and so much money to invest to do things right, there's no reason why Locked On should launch its fast channels better than CHSN launched its one channel. There's no reason why that should happen. It's sad, right? The Fubo TV thing was good as a gateway gap and things like that. Like, you could have just came out with all of this at once had you just waited. And this goes back again to why so many Bulls and White Sox fans don't trust Jerry Reinsdorf, because it's all about the money. You don't think about your fans. You don't think about the user experience. You don't think about any of that. It's all about the money. You got to be better, Jerry. You got to be better. That's my soapbox. Thank you for attending my TED Talk, man. If you want to follow us, you can do so at Locked On Bulls. If you want to follow me, you can do so at CEO Haize. Man, thank you guys for tuning in. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, man. Like I like to end everything on, man. Go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red. I'll be live tonight after the game. Love you guys. Peace.